Hello and welcome back to another episode of FTB Sky Factory 2.5. My name is Twin Minds, and I have a new friend. This is the hat stand from the hat mod from iChun. You can just edit it and pick through all the different hats that you have collected. So far I don't have too terribly many, but I've gotten a few from killing all those monsters that have been left over in my thing. Yeah. So, I figured today will be a day of automation. I have some plans, so let me get some stuff ready, and then we will get ready to go. Alright, I am ready for the first step of automation. As you can see over to my right here, I have set up a little bit. I added a second pulverizer, and the primary reason for that is cobble goes in here, gravel comes out here, but sand sometimes comes out here. Now, I don't really need to sift sand currently. There's not much I need that comes out of it, but I do need to sift dust. So what I did was I set up the side here on the right-hand side to output the sand automatically into this one, which then receives the sand and pumps it down into dust. So that will give me kind of a two-step sifting setup, so I can do gravel and dust at the same time. And I also have the hopper set up here to feed in some cobble. Now right now that's only 5 stacks plus the one that would be in here, so it's a step forward, but it's not perfect yet. I ultimately would like to hook it up to cobble generation over there to get this going indefinitely, but indefinitely requires energy indefinitely, which will have to come at a later time. The next part of this setup will go in place of where this chest is, and that will be the automatic sieve. So let me build up the mesh here, and automatic sieve requires this gear and the automatic sieve. Now there are two automatic sieve options. There's this one, which just looks like a metallized form of the regular sieve, but there's also the auto sieve, which is foxglove in a box. Now in this case, the in a box name changes kind of every time you look at any eye. So Spectacular 101 in a box. So I believe these are Patreons of the mods. That's why they ended up in the game here. This one actually looks like a miniature dude sifting stuff manually in a sifter in a tiny box, which, while is quite amusing, has some drawbacks to it when compared to the automatic sieve. I've read up on it, and ultimately the two options are almost identical when fully maxed out, but the maxing out of the automatic sieve is just pumping a bunch of RF into it, whereas the auto sieve requires regularly feeding it enchantments on book form. So to me that didn't sound great in the long run, although I may end up making one just for amusement purposes of having a little dude in the box. So we'll see. But this sieve is going to go right here, which doesn't look too great because it's got that little hole there, but ultimately the gravel will feed up into the automatic sieve here. I do need to give it power, however. If you look around the back here, I have a tiny little friend called an energy conduit that I made up in my spare time here, and I did grab some extras of that because I do need to power things. I will take this guy off, and I'll throw him on the back here, and this goes on top to power the sieve. Now if we do this right and grab some cobble, the cobble will go in here, and also, could go into the hopper. This will go into gravel, which immediately feeds up into the top here, which, assuming it's going to get some energy, apparently I didn't set that up right. Energy requires setting this to output at the top, and then it starts sifting as it receives power, and it will eventually give me my output. There we are. So it's slow as heck right now. There are plenty of upgrades which I can add in here, which increase the speed, and also I can add fortune to increase the output, which is very handy. but that does burn energy like mad. This is consuming 20 RF per tick. I think it goes up to like 4,000 RF per tick once you fully upgrade it, so that will be a later time. But for right now, I've got sifting, and it's relatively automated. Now the output that's going into here, the dust, that will not feed into here very well, because this will almost always be filled with gravel while this is waiting to pump into here. So instead, I am debating on adding a second sifter that will just receive the output from the top of here as well, like so. So I may do that. Do I have the materials for that to do it right now? It's 4 electrum, 2 nuggets, 4 invar, and an iron. Yes, I do have that, so I'm going to do it, because I would like to do that. And another heavy sieve, which goes right here with a shift click to place it. And then I do need another energy conduit, like so. And there we are sifting dust. Now the reason for dust is primarily redstone and glowstone. Bone meal, sure, I can make use of that. In fact, let's take a look. You do get some of the metals in dust form, so those can always be compacted down and smelted up. Blaze powder, redstone, glowstone, gunpowder, Certus quartz, which will be handy, and skystone. I don't really need that all that much, at least not in mass quantities. So I will be compacting these down and smelting and getting some ore out of the dust, but the primary form will be coming from these here. Now I need to figure out how to automate this part, because these will need to be merged into their gravel form and then hammered down like so into this form and combined, and then hammered down into this form and then combined, and then finally dealt with probably through a pulverizer to get that additional little 10% output there. It's a little bit extra work than is probably necessary. I could probably stop at this form right here and just be done with it, but I do like efficiency, so I would like to get the most bang for my buck out of each gravel here. So I will figure out how I'm going to do that at some point in the near future here, but for right now I do at least like having this coming out for me. So that's very nifty. That takes care of that bit of automation, which is nice. Now the next step, I think the next step might actually need to be taking care of these, because this will start to become a problem, and I don't want to have to deal with that problem manually. How am I going to do that? So if I do this and take a look here, I can just pulverize them down and be done with it. Or I can hammer them. And the hammering is going to be through an automatic hammer of some sort, because I'm not going to hammer them all myself. That's just ridiculous. So the automatic hammer, this is the alternate version of the automatic sieve, both from X Astris, which is intended to be an add-on to X Nihilo. And then there's also the X Compressum version of the auto hammer, which is similar in nature to the little dude in the box, but in this case it's just a hammer constantly whacking away. This is weighted pressure plates, so overall 10 iron and a diamond hammer, which is a little bit much. Whereas this is a lot of invar and a whole ton of iron. So I'm going to have to weigh the pros and cons of each of these. I think I don't know. I will have to do some investigation on which one of those might be the better option. I'm not entirely sure, but I do believe that either or both of them could work with fortune upgrades as well, which would be handy to have, because that would further increase my output. But before I do that, I need to deal with power. because I will not be able to power any of this nonsense for very long. I'm already out of power. Alright. So yes, that's going to have to be the next step. Now what I found with the culinary generator, if I take pumpkin pie, let's go with some stock, an apple cookie, and then some better food that I made up, meaty stew and rotten flesh, because that's what I had been using. So if I take this into the culinary generator and then mouse over, you can see that I get 2800 RF at 16 RF per tick. So this is doing some calculation based on the numbers here on the right hand side there with the 2 shanks and the half a shank of that gold outline indicates saturation, which previously in unmodded Minecraft, I guess, is saturation is an invisible force. Basically, you kind of have to guess at it or read the wiki on what foods give you what saturation. So in this case, rotten flesh, terrible saturation, and in this case also has a chance to give you hunger or a hunger debuff. Meaty stew, however, see that fully gold outline there? That's full saturation. So while you're only filling up 4 shanks of hunger, that's actually pretty good, it fills you up full saturation, which means there's a long period of wait before your shanks start to go down again. So the calculation on this one is 80,000 RF at 32 RF per tick. So twice as fast of power generation and a whole ton more. I believe the quantity of RF is basically how long it burns. So at 32 RF per tick, this thing burns for roughly 2 minutes. And then you can see the different numbers here. 12 RF per tick for the stock, 16 for the apple, and really tiny bits there for the cookie because it does not give you much hunger. So I made up quite a bit of this meaty stew because I had some of the materials around, and it does provide me quite a bit of power, but not great. Still only 32, which isn't even enough to run one of these pulverizers. That's 40 RF per tick. So I need to figure out some power solutions, and as part of that, I do want at least some power that is going to go all of the time, no matter what I do. And that's going to be in the form of solar. There's solar generators from extra utilities, which would technically match the 2 that I already have going, but I know that these have a little bit of a trick that I do not appreciate working with. They generate power when there is sun, but they don't output that power into something that can use it. So then you have to give it a redstone signal to stop generating power and then output power. So typically the answer is done with a daylight sensor, which gives redstone when viewing daylight. So that's the opposite of what we want. So then you would do an inverter to give a redstone signal when there is no daylight, so that when it is nighttime and it can't generate power anyway, it will be outputting power. It's doable, but for a block of diamond, that's insane. So I will go with these solar panels, which are really cheap. The alternative is the photovoltaic cell from Ender.io, whereas these are from Solar Flux. See the generation number there is 2. That's actually only 2 RF per tick, which isn't spectacular, but it'll do. This one is 10 RF per tick, but it is significantly more expensive. So I may end up switching to these at some point in the future, but they're still really expensive even for that. Now these wood, a redstone, and then 3 mirrors, which is just glass and some aluminum. And that's 2 per craft. So for every 3 of these that I make, I can have 2 of these solar panels. Now the other thing that I like is that they can be upgraded to the next form, 16 RF per tick for 8 of these things, plus just a little bit more. That's actually not too bad. But for each one of these upgrades, it gets pricier and pricier. So I like that I can continue on upgrading them and get up to 4,000 RF per tick for something that's just going to sit there staring at the sun. I'll take it. So let's start off by making 8 of these, because I would like to get at least one of these. That's going to be a ton of wood, a bit of redstone, glass, and aluminum. I have plenty of aluminum that I have gathered and have very minimal use for. I remembered to cook up glass this time. I'm sure someone out there might be proud of me. And redstone here. I need to grab my wood, which will be this one. Let's get cooking. So these are easy enough to shift click. I don't need 44 of these mirrors, but I do need 3 per, and I need 8 of them, so that's 24. I'm glad I can do math sometimes. And then just shift click that, and I get 8 of these. Do need to grab a gold ingot for the next piece. And I can't aim at the moment. Ooh, all over the place there. Let's go with this panel, because why not? And then I need this one. And this one. Now this could go anywhere here, really. Let's move one of these. And that can go... Oh, I don't know. How about right here for now? And this can just sit right there. Now this doesn't look like it's doing all that much, but it is generating charge and then outputting it straight into all these machines that still need to be filled up. That's why it didn't look like it was doing all that much. But that is a solar panel at 16 RF per tick. And let me get this fed and moving. Now this one is no longer connected to that cell, and that is a problem, which I can easily solve with the conduits that I have in my pocket here. But I need to figure out where I want to put all of this stuff. Kind of running out of spot, actually. And that's why I need to start building things to put stuff in. I don't quite have any plans yet for building. I'm still noodling over what I want things to do and what I want them to look like. So I will continue thinking that over as I figure out how to be most efficient with my build and with my overall plans. Now I see this tiny little change here. Water tank here and lava tank there. I had tried to come get some lava for something I don't even recall anymore, and this was constantly empty. So I needed to put this here and let it fill up so I could actually grab lava with a bucket if I needed to. And same with the water. It was easier to reach the tank here than it was to reach in and grab the middle source block there. Now these are done with those fluid transfer nodes that I had built up earlier, and totally forgot I had temporarily because I didn't do what I needed to do at the time I needed them. So I just made use of them, because why not? Sure. This one actually is running just right off of that tap there. That's easy enough. This was a thing that I totally forgot I did. All of those Thaumcraft gold coins I was getting are actually gold nuggets, which melt down and gave me quite a bit of ingot to work with. I'll take it. Actually, I didn't even finish because it filled up completely. This is actually a really tiny smeltery. It can only take 20 ingots worth. I know that if you increase the size of the smeltery, it can get to ridiculous proportions, and it can take thousands of ingots worth. So that's for a completely later time if I even want to continue this processing method. Who knows? I don't know why I even ate that. I got a Darkinator, which is one of the Baconators, and I filled it with toast. And then I forgot I did that, so I'll eat that next time, hopefully. So that is the power, beginnings of power. I might make another one of those because it was relatively cheap. And might start crafting up some more stuff. So let's do 2 of these. Why did that not appear in my inventory? What the heck was that about? That's better. So as you can see here, I got a diamond from that one stack of cobble, which is nice. 10 of these, which I believe goes down to 2 blocks, which is then 4 ingots, unless I smash it down even further. That's good. Now, while I listen to this soothing song, I'm going to check my list very briefly, and then I will be back. Alright, I think there is one more thing I would like to accomplish today. It's not much, but it is kind of an important thing, at least for saving me some sanity, and that is the compactor. It's a simple little thing. I don't even think it requires any power, but what it does is it automatically compacts things, as it says, into either a 2x2 grid or a 3x3 grid. So in the case of compacting these things into this thing, it does that automatically, so I don't have to do it. I will obviously automate the feeding of items into it, but at the very least, I want to get it started. So that is more cobble for the pistons. I have the redstone on me. So it is 4 pistons, which I forgot to grab the iron. I thought I had it on me because of the aluminum there. Iron. Piston. 4 of those. Simple crafting grid, which didn't completely clear it, but that's okay. And then that is it. So it's a simple little thing. And it just can go anywhere. And, this is the powered one. I was thinking of the, I think it's the auto compactor. I don't remember. It's its own separate mod, kind of like this one is, but it's got a different name to it, and it just takes items in and pumps items out without requiring any power or anything like that. So I will need to power this. It does have some settings in here. Try 3x3 first, only 3x3, only 2x2, or 2x2 first. So this kind of gives you some options for multi-purposing this. Like I could put some things in here that only do a 2x2 grid, but if I put something in here that requires a 3x3 grid, it will try that next just in case. And then the recursive compacting. Think something like compact compressed cobble, where it's 9 cobble for a double, or for a compressed cobble, and then 9 compressed cobble for a double compressed, etc. So if you just pumped cobble into this thing indefinitely, it would just continually compacting them over and over again to octuple compressed if you wanted to go that crazy with it. I'm not entirely sure this compactor would be able to keep up with that, but it might be worth testing in the future because I'm sure I will need that at some point. So this little bugger can fit into this setup somehow. I will have to reorganize this whole mess to get it a little bit more efficient. But this is going to go down in there. I'll put it, I don't know, right there for now so I can get some power. That's a terrible placement because that covers my solar panel. How about on top? Sure, why not? So that will eventually get power. Currently I'm producing nothing because it's dark. I can actually sleep through that just to get some power going again. That is another thing I have to consider while relying on solar, is that light is now my friend, and it is now important to get things moving. But that's something for another day. But this is now receiving power, so if I were to throw these in here, it would compact them down immediately into the aluminum gravel block from these. So if I grab all of this stuff and just dump it in there, it will compact it down into as many as it can. You can see it looks like it didn't, but that's just a graphical update glitch. It goes away as soon as you exit and reopen. Now in this case I got compressed flint from X-Compressum. It does take flint as well. It takes whatever's in here. So if I don't want my flint to be compacted, I will have to use some sort of item routing methods to keep my flint out of this box. It will eventually compress diamond if I get enough of them, same with coal, etc. So whatever I don't want compacted, I shouldn't put in here. That can be important for some things like, I believe, Certus quartz, where you can compress it into a block form, but it's not so easy to get it back out of that block form into the single items that you need. So it's one of those things where you have to be careful about what you're pumping in here. It can also get overloaded so that nothing else can go in here, and then it kind of chokes itself and it stops processing. So those are things to consider with the compactor, because it doesn't care. It's just going to process whatever you pump in here, and that's that. I can throw my cobble in here and boom, I've got compressed. So that's also handy, actually, if I want to start manually smashing down cobble or gravel or whichever. I can put it into compressed form very easily. So I like having one of those handy. So that's kind of the end of my fun today. Just a little bit of quality of life improvements, kind of like previous episode, where some of the stuff is now being taken care of for me, so I don't have to do it by hand. As you can see, I've got my chicken stick here because I had to again do some by hand, because I did not consider with this setup that all of my gravel is going straight up to sifting, and all of my sand is going into dust, which means I have no sand, which is another thing I will have to worry about at some point. So I had to ground down some sand by hand here so I can get more glass, because, surprise, surprise, I did not have enough glass for the next thing I wanted to do. So, a bunch of things to consider for future episodes, but for right now, miner automation is all I really worry about, and I am good with that. So I will make some more plans for next time, and maybe get some of this into its own area with a little bit better setup, because it's kind of absolutely horrible right now, and a couple friends I know I would drive them nuts with this type of setup. So good thing they're not playing with me. I will leave it all here for now, though. I will leave you with a lovely shot of the panda. Nah, let's go with the adorable little tiger kitty thing. So until next time, see ya.